la 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Let's see if my audio works. It's time to see if my yes, my audio is working. Converted man here. Okay. I'm going to do this a little bit differently than the first time I did it that no longer exists. Don't worry about it. I'm going to go ahead and take this guy's transcript, put it in Notepad, open Notepad. Okay, yeah. Okay, just, can you, all right, here we go. And then I'm going to read his script because the problem is, his video audio is so bad that even though I cranked it all the way up, you can barely hear what he says. So I'm going to show his video, but I'm going to share the script that he has, so because you can, like I said, you can't hear him. So I'm going to read parts of his script. And you can, you see he actually does have a video, and you can see that I'm not like straw manning him or whatever. OV is linked in the description and all that, but we're not going to hear his video. We're going to hear me reading some of the things from his video, and my camera is giving me a delay, and that's making me go nuts. Okay, that's great. All right. So I'm not going to read everything he wrote. He says, I don't have, this is where I want to start with. He says, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. Okay, so also, let me go ahead and put the thing on the screen here. Okay, that, actually, you know what? Why don't we put this, hold on. Instead of doing that, because that's not very good formatting, we will do it in the other thing. That's okay, because nobody's watching right now, so I can screw around and do whatever I want. But then later, people will be watching this, and they'll be like, "Deconverted man, what are you doing?" It's professionalism, man. It's all professionalism. All right. Just okay. Man, this is such a weird little thingy. Create writer thingy. Okay, takes a moment. How are you all doing? Hope you're doing okay. Are you? I'm gonna drink some soda here. I might just redo this. Whatever. Oh no, there it goes. Okay, well, I mean, this is better. Yeah. Ish. Let's see. No, well, that kind of sucked. Can we center all of it? Yeah, I like that better. All right. I guess. I mean, yeah. Whatever. It's good enough. Okay, so I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. No, don't get me wrong. I tried. Did you, though? I mean, you didn't really try that hard. I bought the hoodie. There isn't an atheist hoodie. That's just silly. I followed Reddit threads. I don't know why you would do that. I even said there's no God in Richard Dawson's accent to see how it felt. No, you didn't. Why are you lying? Why even bother with any of this? So, I mean, we know that it's not true. We know that you didn't try to be an atheist. We know that you didn't say this. This is all hyperbolic. You don't need this. Get rid of it. Let's focus on this bit here. So is faith good or bad? That would be my question. Because you're saying you don't have enough, so A is going to be atheist, and then Christian's going to be below that, and then, some other thing's going to be below that. Let's see. It takes a lot of faith, apparently, to be an atheist, but it takes less faith to be a Christian. Is there some other thing that takes even less faith to believe in than Christianity? And then whatever that is, that's what we would want to be. And that would be if faith is bad, then we don't want more is bad and less is good. But we are admitting it is faith. It is still faith in both cases. It's just more here than it is here, right? And maybe, I don't know, Zoroastrianism, I don't know how to spell that, is less faith or whatever. Maybe, I don't know, for all I know, Hinduism takes a little bit more faith than Christianity. Maybe Judaism takes less faith to have than Christianity. So whatever is the lowest amount of faith is what we'd have to be, and that would make us a skeptic. So I guess he wants us to be a skeptic, right? But this phrase, of course, comes from the Frank Turek book. That's what he named his book, and it is just so lame. And all it is an attempt at a tu quo. And you as well. Well, we both are in the same boat. I have faith. Well, you have faith too. No, I don't. I don't have faith. So you're wrong. And he says atheism is a belief system. That's incorrect. It's not a belief system. Nor is it really even technically a system. So full of blind leaps, wishful thinking, and unprovable assumptions are realized. Okay, well, you're going to have to make an argument for all that. And he says it takes more faith to believe in nothing than a creator. So he's assuming that there is some belief in nothing that goes along with atheism. Well, I did that poll, the informal poll, with a number of atheists, and I'll put the link to that video in the description. You probably have seen it if you're a fan of me. But all the atheists I asked if we believe in nothing, do you believe nothing created the universe? And I don't need my earphones on. I don't know why I have them. I guess I was like thinking I was going to try to listen to his video. But like I said, his audio is terrible. So it's, I'll play some of it so you understand what I'm talking about. But so no is the answer. No atheist that I asked said yes. They could have said anything. I don't, but no. We all said no. I think, now I have no way to prove it, but if you polled more atheists, I would think that would just continue upward. I don't think that there's a single atheist out there that legitimately believes the universe came from nothing. This is what is called a construct straw man. You have constructed an idea that is not real and then made the argument for that non-real entity. So it is a construct and it's a straw man. So it's a construct straw man. It's not true. We don't believe in nothing. I personally don't think, I don't know what nothing would be, and nothing wouldn't be a thing. Nothing is so not a thing that it can't be a thing. So there was no nothing, there is no nothing, and the only nothing that is the idea of nothing, which is still a thing, so it's not really nothing. But I don't believe in that, so that's wrong. Part one, atheism is a belief system. It isn't. But then he says atheists say they don't believe in anything. That's also incorrect. Atheists do not say that. Atheists say we don't believe in God. That's the only thing that you need to say to be an atheist is I don't believe in God. So when asked the question, do you believe in God? If you say no, you're an atheist. That's it. So that's as far removed from any belief system as I think you can get. Do you believe in leprechauns? No. Guess what? You're an aleprechaunist. It's not really a thing because there's not a need for it, but yeah, you would be an aleprechaunist. Do you believe in goblins, ogres, or dragons? No? Well, then you're an agoblinist, a ogress, and then a dragonist. But God you might believe in, and then you're a theist. So, but it's just more nonsense. They say that lack of belief sounds humble, right? Well, I don't know if it's humble or not, but it is true. We don't have a belief in God, but we might have other beliefs. To be an atheist, you have to believe that everything came from nothing. This is not a true statement because you don't have to believe in anything to be an atheist. Okay, so regarding the universe, I held no beliefs about that. I look to science to answer that question because I don't know. And I also recognize that they don't necessarily know and that they have models and it's mathematics and we've only explored 0.00001% of the universe and we have no idea. And that's fine. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with not knowing. I don't know is my answer. How did the universe get here? Don't know. No idea. So that means I don't have a belief regarding the universe, since I have no idea how it came to be or why it is. But whatever that answer is, well, I don't know. But I don't need to know what the answer is to know what the answer is not. And so I like to do I don't know what 1,000,000 to the power of 72 is. No idea. Maybe you know off the top of your head, but I would need to put it in a calculator or ChatGPT or something. But I do know what the answer is not. I know the answer is not 0. I know it's going to be a number bigger than 1,000,000. I know it's not going to be a negative number. I know it's not going to be a decimal number. I know it's not going to be a fraction. So there's many things I can know about it without knowing what the answer is. There's things I can know what it isn't. And I'm not necessarily saying that it's not God, but that depends entirely on what you say God is. But in regards to whatever made the universe, or if anything made the universe, maybe the universe always was, or maybe it's how you look at it, or I don't know. But whatever that answer is, no idea. But I cannot then therefore conclude that that means not God or God, either way. So we have to leave that out of the equation. And other atheists, I suspect, would follow suit with that, if not word for word, like I said, then a similar way. But no, we don't have to believe that the universe came from anything. In other words, we don't have to believe anything. You just have to not believe in God. You don't need to believe in anything about anything else at all. Period. End of story. But he wouldn't have a script if he didn't lie. Now he goes on and says life came from non-life. Well, this is not a belief. This is a conclusion based on evidence. So this is not a belief, right? Because a belief suggests, again, that idea of what he means by faith. I'm speculating because he didn't tell us. A belief without evidence, right? That's what I'm guessing he means by faith. The thing that we call life is made up of cells and stuff, and then those cells are made up of chemicals, and those chemicals, when you go back far enough, because you'd have to go way back when, apparently were floating around in water or goo or wherever the bleep they were, and they were just chilling, being chemicals, and a couple of them got together and they were like, and then they were chilling, and then more chemicals came and they combined with each other. And at some point through this gradual process, as more complexity built up, that gained a function that it didn't have before, or maybe it sort of had a little function, and then it gained a little more function, and a little more function, and a little more function, and that just kept staircasing up in complexity until at some point you had something that we would call life. But maybe there's no line there. It's like if you had a gradient from black to white, and here in the middle is gray, you'd say, well, where does it stop being black and start becoming white? And you're like, well, I can't really answer that question because, it's like right there, it's kind of black and kind of white. So maybe that's where it starts, but it would get fuzzy. Okay, so we won't be able to pinpoint. It's like from anywhere from 245 to 270, or 245 to 270. That wouldn't be a number. Anywhere from that wouldn't be a time. I was trying to think time. 240 to 245. So a window of about 5 minutes, right? And I'm not sure what that time frame is, but that's the window. Okay. So, well, when did it start? And I'm like, well, I can't really tell you for sure. I know it's within there somewhere, but I can't be exact. Okay. But yeah, chemicals formed life. I don't need to believe it. It just seems to be that's where they came from. Or life came from chemicals. Yeah, that's it, I guess. And it's not a belief. It's just like, well, that's where where else did it come from? Do you have any other hypotheses to forward? I don't need to believe it because that's what the evidence is. Consciousness comes from chemistry. Well, this is evidently true because based on evidence, not faith. So again, our brain is an electrochemical thing that produces the thing that we call consciousness. That's an observation, and it's true if there is or isn't a God, it's still true. So this is not a belief. Morality came from matter. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Unless you mean humans. Humans are made of matter, but then again, so is that. So it's wrong to say that it came from matter. It would be proper to say that morality came from humans and human interaction. And morality evolved with us. And again, that's an observable fact, whether there's a God or not. So that's not a belief that I have to have. And it has nothing to do with atheism either. So none of the, like I said, the only thing that has anything to do with atheism is not believing in God. You don't have to believe anything else at all. There is no atheist worldview, but he's trying desperately. And that reason came from randomness. This also makes no sense. Reason is a concept that we humans came up with, so it came from humans, and that's it. That's not random, though. That's not a lack of belief. Well, you're technically correct in that those statements aren't a lack of belief because these statements are true in reality and don't require belief at all. But you're wrong in that an atheist has to accept these. You don't have to. You could disbelieve all of that if you're an atheist. The only requirement is that you don't believe in God. You could believe that humans came from aliens or space monkeys or time travel paradox or magic. As long as it's not God, you could believe in it. I suspect there'd be very few atheists that would agree with that, but that all atheism is the word that means without God. That's it. So, the desperation of some apologists to try to make this a worldview is really, I think, pathetic. Then he says, what Richard Dawkins? I don't care about Dawkins. Maybe I need to do another informal poll of atheists to find out if we care about Dawkins or not. I don't think we do. Stop treating Dawkins like he's the end-all, be-all. The only person that Dawkins speaks for is himself. Okay, he doesn't represent any other atheists except for him. And whatever he said is irrelevant. Now he says, well, let's talk about the origin of the universe, and we're going to get into the stupid Kalam. Okay, the origin of the universe. So I don't know about it. And neither do you. You're not a scientist. You're not a cosmologist. So you're not qualified to speak on it. Neither am I. I know that much. Maybe you know a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but we don't know basically diddly squat. The experts on the subject also don't really know if there is an origin of the universe in the first place. And I know you could be like, but I looked up Google and Google said Big Bang is the origin of the universe. Yeah, but did you find a scientist that agreed with that in a peer-reviewed published paper? Do we even know how to look up a peer-reviewed published paper? Google Scholar would give you a start, but have you then read that peer-reviewed published paper on the origins of the universe? And is it published by a cosmologist or just a schmuck that doesn't know what the hell they're doing? So you're going to need more than this. Okay, the Kalam cosmological argument. I did a whole video on that called KCA, and I point out all the logical fallacies therein, but I'll just summarize real quick. It has the parts in the compositional fallacy, also called the parts in the whole fallacy, and that's premise one. That's all I need. I only need one fallacy, and then the rest of the argument falls apart. I don't need to mention more. There are lots of fallacies in the argument. I only need one. The argument assumes that because things have causes, that the universe has a cause. Well, the parts of the universe that we know about have causes. Maybe. And then when you get into quantum physics, it gets really fuzzy. But scientists who actually understand what the hell they're talking about have reviewed the cosmological argument using and talked about how wrong it is in terms of science. So I'm going to go with what the cosmologist scientists have to say on this and not what some philosopher has to say. They reviewed Craig's arguments, his defense of it, and I know he's not the end-all be-all, but he's the one that, got the KCA to be noticed. And he's just wrong about cosmology on like every single conceivable level that a person could be wrong. So he's not even a little right. And the papers that he cites are outdated, or the way that he understands them is wrong, and so on and so forth. So scientists, and I can link you to those links if you want me to. Let me know in the comments below, because if you don't care, I'm not going to link you to the video that shows what I'm talking about. Remind me what the thing is in the comment below, and then I'll do it, because I have to go find it. But yeah, the KCA is broken. And then the other problem is, if the Big Bang cosmology is correct, if you get to a point backwards in time where you get this heat, this super mega heat, and it is hot, and it's called the Planck temperature. And at this temperature, atoms aren't. The atoms, the little things that make us and everything, they aren't there because it's too damn hot. That's how hot it is. So there is no physical stuff yet because it's just too hot. And cause and effect, bleeped if I know if that would still happen in that universe. You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows, because we have no physics to map what that heat would act like. So if we don't know what that universe is, then we can't make any statements about it, which is exactly what the Kalam tries to do. It tries to use inductive reasoning to go backwards in time. But when we confront the reality that we know or think to be the case, we see that there hits a firewall, and we said, well, there it is. We don't know anymore. Maybe we can't know if that's true, because the damn universe is on fire and it's too hot. So we don't know what the hell is going on. And you might say, well, but logic, and I'm like, forget it. Logic flies out the window. Well, not all of it, but some of it. And we don't know if cause and effect is true because it's too damn hot. So you have to ignore science to do the Kalam cosmological argument. But that's not surprising, because people who use the Kalam don't, who cares about science? When Craig said it. So yeah. So that one is flawed logically throughout. And so I don't need to cover it again. It's in my video with KCA. I'll link to that video. Remind me. Let's see. Remind to link to KCA. I'll remind myself. Okay. Have you tried making something from nothing? Again, we don't believe the universe came from nothing. So none of this matters. Okay, fine-tuning. Fine-tuning in the universe. Okay. The universe is not fine-tuned. And the guy that came up with the fine-tuning arguments, if you know who that is, I've got links to an interview with him where he talks about this. What he meant, apparently, by what he wrote about fine-tuning is that the phrase means we need better understanding of the physics to make sense of these numbers that appear. That's what he meant by fine-tuning. And so theists just see the word fine-tuning, they take that word and they run with it like it's, and they pretend it means something that the author of the scientific paper himself says, that's not what I meant by that. And if you want me to link you to that interview, let me know in the comments, not in the side chat, because I want, when this is done being live, it will be a video and you can comment on it. Maybe I'll remind myself. Post vid guy talks about fine-tuning universe. Okay. Ogen Jen, why are you Christian? I am not Christian. I am talking about a video that this guy did. And the original video is in the link. Hold on screen here. This guy is following Christ is his name. Okay. And so my video is called Following Christ Doesn't Understand Things, More Exclamations, right? Because I'm responding to his video, but his audio was so bad that I decided to copy the transcript of it and read from it to you to explain what's wrong in his script. Okay. Why do I care? Because I care about reality and I care about what's right and wrong. And I care about logic. And this guy is doing improper logic and improper science. He's lying about what atheism is, and I have to correct him because I care about the truth. Thanks for the questions. Why? Because lobsters exist. All right. So the fine-tuning of the universe isn't really a thing, and this is a backwards way of looking at it because the theist doesn't even understand that fine-tuning isn't really a thing, but they pretend that it means, well, all these constraints in there's these numbers, and that if it was different at all, that life wouldn't be possible. That's not true, though. We don't know what it would be like if things were different. If gravity wasn't within this field, life would be impossible. Okay, cool. And it is, so life is possible. But they pretend that because you have all these things, that must mean that the improbability of life is so great that therefore God. Well, it's just an appeal to personal ignorance at that point. And there is a great deal of range in each of those numbers that they have. I think the weak magnetic force is the one that's the lowest field that you could have different. You have like from 1 to 100, let's say. Maybe it's from 1 to 10. So okay. But still you have a 1 in 10 chance of getting life. And we don't know what a different universe that was set differently would look like because nobody has done a model to show what that universe would look like. In fact, I don't even know if anyone's done a model to show what our universe looks like using these constraints and plugging it into computer simulation. Why do monsters exist? They don't. And if you keep going with nonsense, you will not exist on this channel. Yeah. Anyway, so there isn't any fine-tuning of the universe, and not in that sense. And you also have to consider the fact that the Earth only exists for about 4.54 billion years. Well, the universe is 13 billion years old. So 13 minus 4, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. 9. So 9 billion years, there was no life in the universe, yet the universe was finely tuned for life? Well, no, because it's still not tuned for life because there's no life, well, that we know of. And then the Earth forms because of gravity, and then there's life. No, because it takes another million years for Earth to cool down. And now there's life. Well, no, it takes some more time. And so the condition, if universe was so fine-tuned for life, life should be everywhere. But it's not. So it's not fine-tuned for life. Life is fine-tuned for the universe. And so this argument is just flawed. And I like to say that if things were different, things would be different. But they're not. And all this is big numbers equal God. That's all the fine-tuning argument really is boiled down. And as I said, it's wrong in the first place because fine-tuning doesn't even mean the thing that the apologist thinks that it means. So they're wrong about that. So just wrong. Let's see. Dang nabbit, I keep missing my windows here. All right. Goodbye. Oops, I think I banned them permanently. Oh, well. And he goes on, blah, blah, blah. Don't care what anyone said. Yada, 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 yada. You didn't. Yeah, so the fine-tuning does not prove God, nor is it even a thing. You misunderstand it, and so you're just wrong. So none of that proves God, and none of that, by the way, shows atheism is false. Just a mystery. Why is there life? I don't know, because there is. Biological evolution. Yeah, what about it? It's absolutely true. Biological evolution is a fact of reality, whether there's a God or not. And then there's life. Darwinian evolution explains minor changes, but can it explain coding, cellular machinery, and irreducible complexity? Well, I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that we don't use Darwinian evolution. This is outdated. So I don't know why you would use it at all for anything, since he's got the backdrop, but we don't use it anymore. Do you know what we use? I don't know. I'm not into biology, but we don't use Darwinian stuff anymore broadly. We use some of it. Yes, can it explain DNA coding? Sure. I think so. Have to look it up. Did you look it up? I don't know. Why are you asking me? Are you saying that if we don't know the answer, that therefore God? Or are you saying that, let's see, no, okay, so it doesn't explain that necessarily. Let's see. Okay, so let's see. Darwinian evolution can explain DNA coding, but not by natural selection alone. Modern understanding is called the modern synthesis or neo-Darwinianism, and it combines Darwin's natural selection with genetics and molecular biology. So by using the outdated system, no, you cannot explain things. You have to use the new system that we now use in science, apparently. So if you're going to refuse to update your system, then no, you're not going to be able to explain things. But not knowing the answer to something doesn't mean God did it. It just means you don't know. Let's see. No. Put it on this. You. All right. Can it explain cellular machinery? Yes, it can. Irreducible complexity doesn't exist. There is no such thing as that. I know you'd like there to be, but there isn't. So it can't explain something that doesn't exist. And then somebody said something, I don't care. Flagellum. Okay, so that Michael Behe doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He's an idiot. Okay. I think he's a creationist. Let's see. Yeah, he's a creationist. He's an ID proponent. So whatever he says is not going to be true. He doesn't understand science, nor does he want to. He's committed to being a pseudoscientist. So don't listen to that nitwit ever. If this is your evidence for God, it's pretty damn bad so far. Oh my goodness, get in there. Okay. And so he's wrong about the flagellum. All the parts could be broken down, etc. So he's just wrong. None of his numbers matter. Okay, whatever. Morality. Okay. So right and wrong. Atheists say you don't need God to be good. That's true. You don't need anything to be good other than your own self. He says it's true, but it's not the issue. Okay, cool. Then, I mean, we're done, though. But that is the issue. If we don't need God to be good, then we don't need God. The issue is, without God, how do you define good? By human agreement, like with any other word. We humans agree what the word means. There you go. That's how words work, baby. You might not like it, but you know. But you're if you're asking me, you'd have to buy my book, Logic and Morals, because I outline a way of getting morals using logic. So if you want an answer to your question, you buy my book. But here's a better question. How do you define God, good, with God? Because, see, here's the problem that this guy will have to face. He's going to have to explain why his God says slavery was absolutely fine and why his God is okay with stoning people to death and why his God was upset with people wearing mixed fabrics, because those would all be objective morals. There's 613 different, all of them, but that doesn't matter. We're forgiven for not doing it. So what does it mean to be good if you can be forgiven for doing bad? So you can go on a killing rampage and then say, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. And if you really mean it for real, you get to go to heaven. So what is good in Christianity then? I think it's very subjective. And it would depend on the Christian you asked. It would depend on the version of God that they believe in. So I think that DCT, Divine Command Theory, has way more problems than it offers any solution to. It just pretends to offer a solution. All it does is say, God said it, you do it. That's what makes it right, is that God says it. But no, that doesn't make it right. So this guy doesn't understand morality. And yes, you can define good without God. If we're just stardust, appeal to consequence, we are just stardust, but who decides right and wrong? I do. Or we do. I do. You do. We do. Okay? That's the answer. That is the answer. We decide that amongst ourselves. That's it. Do you think that genocide is wrong? Simple question. Don't know if this guy's going to watch this video, but you spinning or me? I'm not spinning. What are you talking about? I don't know. Oh, Okay, we decide what's right and wrong, and that's just the answer to that. Okay. Genocide, right? That's what I was going to go on. Do you believe genocide is wrong? It's a yes or no question. Okay, now I would assume you say yes, it's wrong, but your God commanded genocide, so it's okay for God to command it. That makes it objectively correct if God commands genocide. But I think objectively, genocide is always wrong. So who's right, me or God? Anyways, so he doesn't understand stuff, and therefore God. So let's talk Jesus. He's not Thor. Well, yeah. Didn't steal it from Horus. Technically, you're correct on that. But no, historically, Jesus is not rock solid. Tacitus only reported that people believed in Jesus. Joseph has a large section that's known to be a fraud, and the rest of it, he just says that people believed in Jesus. Pliny the Younger just commented that people believe in Jesus. None of these people confirm that Jesus existed, just that people believed in Jesus. The gospel being written 30 years after the events. Wow, that's a long time. Now, the thing is, that's way long enough to make a legend, but you don't need that long of a time to do it. You can do it instantly. Joseph Smith sure did. It didn't take him that long for people to believe that he had a legitimate Bible. So we don't need 30 years to come up with a legend. But you have 30 years. So you have an even bigger problem than Joseph Smith had. Joseph Smith claimed he had a book that was divine and wrote it down, and had other people write it down, and they all believed him. Okay, you've got 30 years between the time of the so-called events, whether they happen or not, and to the time that somebody decided to finally write it down. More than enough time for legends to develop. That's not much of anything. I think God could do better than that. The disciples were willing to die for what they saw. No, that's not true at all. In fact, history doesn't show that the disciples died for the belief of Christ. Period. Show me one example where that happens. In the sense that the guy or the gal or whoever had them executed said, hey, before you're executed, if you deny Jesus, then we'll spare your life. So many of them died, sure, or got killed, but did they die because of their religion, and or did they die because they wouldn't recant their religion? This is something that apologists like to say, but none of them try to prove. So it's not true, though. Historically, it's not true. Somebody said that the disciples had stuff. I don't care, even if this is true, but I bet that this is cherry picked. Let's see. Let's see if I can find anything about this. Okay, so basically, if you're going to cite this guy, his argument is that the resurrection is psychological. So, okay, cool. So he believes that the disciples had mental visions of Jesus. But he's one guy. I don't care what he says in that sense. It's not an argument that Jesus existed. It's an argument that his disciples were nuts. So, good job there. Well, it's funny that he says, now if you want to say they hallucinated, when the atheist that you quoted says that they hallucinated. And then he says 500 hallucinated. No, we don't know that there was any people there at all. I know the Bible says there was people, but it never names them or tells us their addresses. So who are these people? Such a nice round number, too. 500 people. We counted exactly. It was like 507 or 492. No, it's just a nice round number. I think that number was chosen for numerological purposes, and it's just an arbitrary number that they decided on because it sounds good, but I don't believe it. Number 7, part 7. Okay, personal experience means nothing to me, so I don't care about it. Why people reject God? There isn't a God to reject. Most people don't reject God because of evidence. You don't. That's not true even a little, because there is no evidence of God. If you had evidence, you should have presented it. You didn't. So no. And then they reject him because of emotion or will. You'd have to prove that to be true. You can't prove it to be true. And so this is just a made-up construct straw man. God didn't stop my pain, fair enough. Christians hurt me, fair enough. Very few people that I've interviewed on their deconversions have, in fact, one out of all the people I've interviewed of atheist deconversions had ever said that they had a negative experience in church and that was part of why they deconverted. So I've interviewed many, many atheists. Most went because of evidence, or rather, no evidence for God. And, by the way, if you're watching this, Saturday I'm going to be interviewing another atheist on my channel. So look forward to that. It's not about facts. Actually, it is about facts. So you're wrong. It's about freedom without accountability. No, you're wrong about that. God's not scared of your emotions, so I don't care. There's no reason for me to believe in God. He wants your heart. Why would he want the organ that pumps blood? That's weird. Even if you reject him, he still offers grace. Prove it. So no, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist, right? So I don't care. You're just restating the incoherent thing you already stated. We don't believe that something came from nothing. Life came from sludge. I don't know if that's the correct idea. Morality came from humans, not molecules. Consciousness came from the chemicals, not chaos, so that's wrong. He believes because evidence adds up. What evidence? You didn't cite any evidence at all. You said a book says a thing, and that people reported that the book says a thing. That's it. That's all you got. And then you have some broken arguments that you point to that don't prove God. Wow. Let's see. Yeah, no, it is blind faith. You do have blind faith. No, there's no reasonable trust. It's irreasonable. If you're dying to, is it true? Well, it isn't true that Jesus did anything. I can't say that it's true that Jesus did any of the things that he is supposed to have done, because there's no way to know that. It's distant past, and it's theology, so I have to doubt it. Am I willing to believe it is? Well, if you had evidence, I could reconsider, but you don't have any evidence. You just have a bad argument. Maybe the issue isn't in your head, it's in your heart. No, the issue is that the issue is no evidence. That's it. That is the evidence. That is the problem. It's not with my heart. It is that you don't have any empirical evidence, repeatable test, or sound argument. That's the problem. If you did, I wouldn't have to believe. I would have evidence. See, faith requires faith, but facts are facts. I have facts. You don't. You have faith. I don't want faith. I want facts. And as long as I have facts, I know that I'm right or could be right. And as long as you have faith, you will always be wrong. Period. End of story. So nothing here. God wants that too. No, you believe that God wants stuff. I don't care what you think God thinks. God hasn't said anything to me or anyone else that I'm aware of. So I don't want to hear what you think. I want to hear what God thinks. And hey, God, hello? Nothing. So what else? And then he concludes the thing with a prayer blah. So that's his video transcript. And in case you're wondering, well, Deconverted Man, why didn't you play his video? Here's his video.
Today I stand before you to make a shocking confession. I don't have enough faith to be an atheist.
It's very hard to hear.
Don't get me wrong, I tried. I bought the hoodie, I followed the Reddit threads, and I even said there is no God in a Richard Dawkins accent just to see how it felt. But atheism is a belief system so full of blind leaps, wishful thinking, and unprovable assumptions.
Could you hear him? I could barely hear him over the roar of wind and birds and stuff in the background. No idea why he decided to record outside without a microphone in his face. So that's why I read the transcript. I doubt that he will watch my video, being that it's 51 minutes long. But if he did watch it and he got to this point, hi, everything you said was wrong. You want to come talk to me about it on my channel? Email me, deconvertedman1@gmail.com. You think he will? No? So, this is very much bog standard apologetics. Nothing I haven't heard before, nothing I haven't covered before. But he seems to think it's going to work, I guess. If he's trying to convince Christians, he might succeed. If he's trying to convert atheists, he's never going to succeed. Honestly, though, I'll tell him this. If he really wants to change the mind of an atheist, he won't be able to do it. And here's why. You do not have evidence. End of story. All you have are bad arguments. All you have is faith. And if you admit that you have faith and just say, I have faith in God, cool, I'll leave you alone. I won't make videos about you. I won't tell you you're wrong. If you didn't make this video, if you said, I have faith in God, and then you said, here's why, blah, 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 fine, whatever, okay, cool, then I'd have no problem with it. But you said you don't have enough faith to be an atheist, which shows me you don't know what faith is, or you don't care what faith is, and you don't know what atheism is, nor do you care what it is, because you seem like you knew what it was, but then you pretended that it wasn't something that it wasn't. So I think that you're being very dishonest and disingenuous. But maybe you're just naive. Maybe you copied and pasted this argument from somewhere else, because honestly, it seems like you did. Could be wrong about that, but I'm probably not. Dave Stewart says, Christians, the video was spinning for a while. Really? Huh. I don't know. Dave, did you see that video spinning? Like counterclockwise or clockwise? Because Web Expert, you might need to take your Dizzy stuff or whatever. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I don't know. It might be your video settings. I don't know. But, oh, right. Dave Stewart says, Christians never hurt me. I've never been a Christian. Right. So there's people that have been an atheist since they were born. And so his whole stale on, you don't believe in God because this, that, and that doesn't apply to those people. Or Dave might have been a Hindu or what. I don't know what Dave was. He might have been a soda can for all I know, So, and you don't know what you are talking about is all I'm trying to get at. This guy, he has no idea what atheists are like for real. And maybe he could talk to a real atheist and learn that he's wrong, or just accept what I've said in this video. Dusty Commando knows about Jesus. Okay, cool. Anyway, so that's it. That's the video. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your time and energy. If you spent the entire 50 minutes with me, 54 minutes, you are insane. And you get, of course, many lobster points. Now, you might be asking what you can use those lobster points for. It's a very good question. Thanks. Be sure to leave a comment in the comment section, because doing that will make me happy and stuff. And remind me to post links, because I might, even though I tried to remind myself, I'm probably going to forget. And if nobody tells me, I might very well forget. All right, until next time, be skeptical. And after next time, stay skeptical, because being skeptical is good. And it comes with cookies. If you're wondering where you get the cookies, I'll have to be honest, there are no cookies. All right, that's it. All right, Dusty wants to talk, but I'm done, so we'll have to do that some other time. So, hey, Dusty, you can email me, deconvertedman1@gmail.com, and we can talk about it live. Somebody, hold on. Let me post. I'll post my email in the comment. deconvertedman1@gmail.com. That way he has my email address and he can email me and set up a time to talk. It won't be today, though. It'll be tomorrow or some other day. All right. Now, no, it's not. Hell is a made-up idea in the church. It's not real. Okay. All right. Thanks for watching, and we're done.